There are two versions of you right now. One of them opens an investing app tonight and puts in $100. The other one closes the app and thinks, I'll start when I have more to put in. Same person, same income, same $100 sitting in the same checking account. 5 years from now, these two people have different bank balances. They won't even be in the same financial position anymore. One will have built real wealth while the other is still trying to catch up. And that gap won't come from luck, a higher paying job. It will come from one small decision, repeated consistently. What was the decision that changed everything? And how can you use that same decision to change your own financial future? Let's find out. There are two people. Let's call them version A and version B. Same person, same starting point, the same $100 sitting in the same bank account. Version A opens a brokerage app, chooses a low-cost index fund, and sets up an automatic $100 transfer for the first of every month. The whole process takes less than few minutes. Nothing about the moment feels life-changing. The account balance still shows just $100. To everyone else, it looked like nothing had changed, but that one decision quietly changed everything. Version B closes the app, not out of laziness, but because the decision feels completely illogical. After all, what difference could just $100 a month really make? The successful investors on podcasts talk about investing thousands of dollars. So version B decides to wait until the income is higher, the job feels more secure, and the monthly investment is big enough to feel worth it. That moment, both decisions seem completely reasonable. And that's exactly what makes this story so fascinating. Because if you watch both versions of that person in that moment, you would never guess that one small decision, made in less than a few minutes, would quietly send their financial lives in two completely different directions. 1 year passes. Version A has invested $100 every month without missing a single payment. The total contribution is $1,200, and thanks to modest market growth, the account is now worth about $1,290, an extra $90. Not enough to change anyone's life, not enough for friends to notice. Meanwhile, version B never made investing a habit. Some months, the extra $100 stayed in a account, and remaining it disappeared into takeout, streaming subscriptions, impulse purchases, or expenses that felt completely reasonable at the time. By the end of the year, version B has saved some $100. The problem is that money has been doing almost nothing. And here's the surprising part. If you compared these two people today, neither one would look wealthy. Version A doesn't feel rich. Version B doesn't feel behind. The difference is so small that it's almost invisible. That's exactly why so many people give up before investing ever has a chance to work. Because in the beginning, consistency is incredibly boring. Every month looks the same. Another $100, another automatic transfer, another account balance that barely seems to move. There's no excitement, no dramatic transformation, no moment where you suddenly feel successful. Just quiet progress that almost nobody notices. But that's how wealth begins. Not with a dramatic breakthrough, but with dozens of ordinary decisions that seem too small to matter. Until one day, they do. 3 years later, version A has invested a total of $3,600. As the market grows over time, the investment is now worth about $4,150. For the first time, it feels like investing is paying off. Then suddenly the market crashes. In just a few weeks, the news turns negative. Stock prices fall. People start to panic. Version A's portfolio drops to about $3,850. On paper, it looks like money is being lost. This is the moment when most people make the biggest mistake, not during the crash, but after it when it's time to invest the next $100 and that little voice says, maybe I should wait until the market gets better. Version A ignores that feeling. The automatic $100 investment goes through, just like every month. No hesitation, no trying to guess what the market will do next. No emotional decisions, just another $100 invested. Meanwhile, version B is still waiting. waiting for the right time, waiting for the market to feel safe again, waiting until $100 feels like enough. Month after month, the decision gets delayed, and without realizing it, every month of waiting makes the opportunity a little smaller. 5 years have passed. Version A has contributed $6,000, and thanks to consistent investing and steady market growth, the account is now worth roughly $7,900. It's not life-changing. It's not enough to retire, but it's real. For the first time, the results are difficult to ignore. What once looked like a meaningless $100 every monthly transfer has grown into an amount that actually feels significant. Meanwhile, version B still hasn't invested a single dollar. Not because version B doesn't care about money. The problem is that the starting line kept moving. In the first year, $100 felt too small to matter. By the third year, starting with only $100 felt like being too far behind. By the fifth year, version B still believes they'll start investing someday. But without even realizing it, "I'll start next month" has slowly turned into "maybe someday." The decision was never rejected. It was simply postponed again and again until years had passed. The biggest difference wasn't the money. It was the mindset that each decision created. One person built the habit of taking action. The other built the habit of waiting for a better moment. And habits are far more powerful than single decisions. Year 15. Version A is now 15 years in. Total contributions, $18,000. Account balance at a historically average 10% annual return, roughly $41,000. Something has changed, and it has nothing to do with how much version A is investing. Over the last year, the portfolio earned nearly $3,700 on its own. Version A only contributed $1,200 during that same period. For the first time, the investments are producing more money than version A is adding. This is the moment compounding stops feeling like a theory and starts behaving like a second income. This is the moment compounding stops being an idea and becomes reality. For years, version A was building the portfolio. Now the portfolio is building itself. Time has quietly become the biggest contributor. It never skips a month. It has been working silently in the background for 15 years. Only now has it grown large enough for its work to become impossible to ignore. 15 years later, version B still believes there's plenty of time to begin. What started as a temporary delay has quietly become a lifelong habit. There wasn't one expensive mistake. There were hundreds of ordinary months where another $100 found somewhere else to go. After 30 years from that first night, version A has contributed $36,000 across 3 decades of a decision that never got easier to make and never got skipped anyway. The account, at historically average returns, sits around $226,000. Most of the wealth wasn't earned, it was grown. Nearly $190,000 came from years of patient compounding. There were countless reasons to stop: unexpected bills, new priorities, moments when $100 felt more useful today than 30 years from now. But the transfer happened anyway, not because it was easy, but because it had become automatic. Version B is 30 years further into the future as well, still healthy, still earning a paycheck, still believing there's time to start. But the one thing that hasn't waited is time itself. The amount needed for retirement is now much larger. The years available to build it are much fewer. The same $100 that once had decades to grow now has only a fraction of that time. The math hasn't become impossible. It's simply become far less forgiving. Here's the part worth sitting with: the two versions of you from the opening of this video were never separated by income, intelligence, or opportunity. The only difference was that one person turned it into a decision, while the other turned it into a delay. $226,000 was never really the point. The point is, the thing that produces $226,000 a person who decided once that $100 was worth moving before the excuses arrived, and then never revisited that decision every month for 30 years. Most people are still standing where version B started, not because they can't afford $100, Because $100 has never felt like enough to be the beginning of anything. It is. Because every extraordinary result has an ordinary beginning. 30 years ago, it was just one small decision. And today, it's still just one small decision. The only question is whether you'll make it. The app is still open. The decision is still 4 minutes long. Which version are you going to be?